Yeah, we'll start
Welcome,
again.
everybody, to this webinar, and specifically a big welcome to Sally, because as you can see, Sally's with us on the same screen, so she's joined us here in Lanzarote. How amazing.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Welcome.
Very amazing, yeah. We should do this more often.
Yeah, you have to come over for next time. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about growth mindsets. Now, pre-brain injury, Jules and I were working in schools. We were working massively around the growth mindset model, which is all about how you think affects how you act, which affects what you get or what your result is. We'll talk a little bit more about what a growth mindset is in a moment, but this is something that has really, really helped me post-brain injury by engaging in positive personal development. And we've talked a little bit about personal development before, haven't we, in the past, on previous podcasts and webinars that we've recorded. So yeah, we're going to talk a little bit about that today.
We are indeed.
Excellent.
Yeah, and just welcoming a couple more people into the room.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So we all know, unfortunately, that after suffering a brain injury, it's really easy to feel that life's let you down and that you're not the person that you used to be. And you can't do the things that you used to be able to do. And that in itself can create all sorts of different emotions. But as Mark's just said about mindsets, that can really, really help you to change how you feel about yourself post-brain injury.
But it's not just people with a brain injury who have those kind of limiting beliefs, is it? I mean,
No.
we were joking before about some of the limiting beliefs, and Mark was saying when he was growing up, if he went out for something to eat, his mum might say, well, you don't want any of the fish off the menu because you won't like it. But how would you know unless you've tried it? And I think it's a good lesson for life, isn't it? That whether you've had a brain injury or not, people put themselves in boxes, don't they? I can't do this, I can't do that. And actually, you know, you're quite good proof that you can do things.
Yeah, definitely. And the I can't is one of the most overused phrases that we say in daily life. So when you say to somebody, try this, and they generally say, I can't do it. We've learnt this from working with teenagers for many years who are working in education, and the first thing they'll say is, I can't do maths, I can't do English, I can't do science, I can't do that, I can't do this. You talk to adults and we still say the same thing. So Jules is an amazing artist and she can create incredible paintings. To me, that seems like there's very little effort involved, which I know there is. And then somebody will go, well, I'm rubbish at art, I can't do that.
And I say, yes, you can.
It's incredible, really, how people just suddenly say, well, I can't draw, I can't sketch, I can't paint or whatever. And it's about how to change that language.
Yeah. So that's what a growth mindset is, really, isn't it? It's about believing that you can grow and you can change and you can become the person that you want to be and you can do the things that you want to do. And we have a great story of how Mark's overcome those since having the brain injury, things that he always thought he couldn't do and now can. And one of the things is paddle. We've been playing that today.
Yeah. Now, pre-brain injury, going back to even my school days, I had absolutely no skill of playing racket sports. So when we first started playing tennis, I remember at middle school joining the tennis club.
Yeah.
And I joined because two of my mates decided to join. And if I was trying to hit the ball with a racket, it would go nowhere near where I wanted it to go. Fast forward a few years, I don't know if you guys, when you go on holiday, you see people with a little bat and ball on the beach and they're knocking the ball to each other in the sea. Now, the skill with this game is the ball can't drop, can it? Because if it drops in the sea, it's sort of rallies.
Absolutely. You've lost
We tried to play that once, and after about 5 minutes, Jules went, this is an absolute waste of time, because I think we managed probably 3 hits to each other, and it was always me that dropped the ball.
I wasn't going to say that.
Not at all. No, I'm happy enough to say that because it would be me. Since we've moved here, there's a massive sport on this island called paddle, which is starting to take off in the UK as well. But it's like playing tennis and squash combined, and you play it on a smaller court. You can use the back walls, you can use the side walls and everything like this. So it's quite technical. Now, in 6 months, I've learned how to play this game. And obviously, so have you. We've learned it together.
Yeah.
But I can hit the ball, and I can hit the ball where I want it to go. Now, that might sound really like sort of obvious or wow, but to me, that's quite massive, because it's something that I had no ability before brain injury to do this. So if I can learn hand-to-eye coordination of something that I couldn't do before, then it's pretty amazing, isn't it, that you can
It shows
overcome
that the brain is a wonderful thing, doesn't it? Because you've got a brain injury. You're living with the effects of a brain injury. That's what this webinar is all about. But your brain has found that it's got what's called neuroplasticity. So that means that your brain has this amazing ability to find new routes. It's like if you're driving somewhere and the road is blocked, finding a way around the traffic, your brain does exactly that. So it goes, I know I need to get from here to playing paddle. How can I do it? And I'm going to go down a little deviation, but I'll get there. How about playing the guitar? That's something else you've learned, isn't it?
Yeah.
Post-brain injury.
Again, it's something. I've loved music for many years, and I've always remembered throughout my whole life, I really just sort of said to people, I have no musical talent. I'm really good at listening to music or playing the air guitar, and that was my joke.
That was your main instrument.
But when we moved here, I decided that I was going to learn to sing, and playing the guitar didn't really come onto the radar until a friend in a band said, look, if I give you a guitar, it will help you to understand the timing of singing as well.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden I'm sitting here thinking, now I've got to learn to play the guitar, coordinate my fingers and coordinate my voice as well. That sounded like real hard work. And I'm going to be honest with you, it was hard work. But one thing I did throughout that whole process is I didn't put the guitar down and say, right, this is too hard. I just looked at ways of learning it. And if it wasn't going so well one day, I'm sitting here playing the guitar and it wasn't going so well, I put it down, walk away from it very calmly, and then go back to it again. Now, whether I went back to it within 5 minutes or whether I went back to it in half an hour, or if I left it till the next day, I still went back to it. And I think that's the key thing, isn't it?
That is the key thing. And that's what we're talking about in terms of limiting beliefs, because you've got something in your mind telling you, I can't do that. Or as you just said, you have no musical talent. Now that's come from somewhere that you think that. Somebody's told you that.
Teacher.
I'll tell you exactly where my music teacher.
Yeah. It could be your teacher, it could be your parents. Because your parents say to you, like you were saying, don't eat that because you won't like it.
Yeah.
How do you know that I won't like it?
Exactly.
I might like it. So limiting beliefs come from all sorts of different places. But it's a good idea to sort of challenge them and think, right, okay, I don't think I've got any musical talent. So therefore, I can't play the guitar. However, honestly, he stuck at it every day, even if it was just 5 minutes a day, just constantly repetition with that. And it's stuck in his mind. And when he, for the first time, stood on stage, well, actually sat on stage on my drum and sang and played a song to a live audience, I could not have been more prouder.
No.
Not been more prouder.
It's amazing, isn't it? And I think, you're probably, because you were aware of those tools and techniques from, being a mindset coach, working with the Future Toolbox, you taught those to other people even before your brain injury. But they've helped you as well, haven't they, those techniques?
They have. And I mean, don't get me wrong, because there's been times where they haven't worked. And I've been in some really negative places thinking, I can't go into a room and socialise with all those people. Or I can't function today. I can't stay awake. My fatigue's going to be too much. And I've talked myself out of situations because of my mindset. And sometimes you can create something in your mind. So a classic example, my nan, bless her, she's in her 90s and her mid-90s now. But my grandparents were of a very post-war mindset. So they would always talk about things like pre-decimalisation. And we were talking about in the 90s and the 2000s, they were still talking shillings and feet and inches and everything like this. And one thing I always used to find with them is if I tried something new, like a new type of food, I'd say, would you like to try this? And my nan would just sit there and go, no, I don't like that.
Yeah.
And I said, you've got to try it though. You can't say you don't like it until you tried it. And I always remember observing her putting something into her mouth for the first time and turning her nose up as she put it into her mouth. So the thing that she's saying is, I don't like that. Try it. I'm not going to like this, as she put it into her mouth. So immediately her brain's sending a signal to her taste buds going, just reject this food because it's awful. And there is the odd time where she go, oh, well, actually, that's not as bad as I thought it would be. But most times she just sort of think, yeah, I'm not really sure. And she then probably, whether she liked it or not, she would never try it again.
Yeah.
Because she would sort of say, I don't like this, I won't like this, and I can't like it. And then the negativity just says, like, conversation over, brain shut down from this process and just stop. And it's really weird how people sort of do that, don't they? By the way, my nan doesn't have a brain injury or anything like that as well. That's just, again, general observation of life.
Yeah. And do you think it's more prevalent with people who've had a brain injury that they become, maybe stick to safe things that they know they're comfortable with? And, because it'd be much easier to go, I'm not going to try that new sport because it might go wrong. I'm not going to try that new food because it might go wrong. I'm not going to try and play a musical instrument because it might go wrong. And that's probably exaggerated, isn't it, after a brain injury?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it is about the language that you use about this. And quite often it is a negative language of, I can't do that, or I don't think I'll be able to do that, or I'm not very good at this, or I can't, there's no way that I'll be able to do that. And if you start looking at that and start changing it and saying, do you know what? I'm going to have a go. I will have a go. I'm not saying I'm going to be brilliant. I'm not going to say it's going to work, but I'm going to give it a go and I'm going to consistently stick at it. And you'll be surprised at some of the things that you'll be able to achieve.
Yeah.
And I know it's really, really difficult having suffered the brain injury, because we're starting to explore emotions as well at the moment through our social media and our webinars. And your emotions have changed quite drastically since the brain injury. They become unpredictable and they can change very quickly and be more exaggerated than before. But I truly believe with helping yourself with the growth mindset, you can help to understand the emotions a bit more, and as opposed to letting them take over to help you to achieve what you want to do.
Yeah. It's sometimes it's really easy to get caught up in the emotions because you can go into that cycle. I mean, we've talked about fatigue quite a lot in previous podcasts and webinars. We've also talked about low mood and anxiety, and the cycle of those can really drag you into a negative mindset. So, for example, you suffer from fatigue, you don't know how to manage it, so you struggle to function that particular day. You fight and battle the fatigue. Next thing is, because you're fighting and battling that, then you start to feel stressed because you're finding you're making mistakes on something, for example. The more mistakes you make, the lower your mood becomes. The lower your mood becomes, certainly for me, if I'm backed into a corner, if I'm challenged on something or I'm negative, I feel more fatigued. There's times if somebody is in a stressful situation or backing me into a corner or challenging me, I would just start yawning. And it's really hard because my defense mechanism, I'm again, pre-brain injury, I wasn't great at dealing with negative stuff and confrontation, but now I just really can't deal with it. And I'm going to use the word can't. I really struggle to deal with it. I can deal with it if I want to, but I don't like dealing with it. And then that goes into a cycle. So the next time then you try and do something, let's just say, for example, we're playing the guitar and it goes wrong. And I think, right, I'm rubbish at the guitar, I'm going to throw it on the floor. The next time I pick that guitar up, I'm not going to have the same relationship with it. So I'm going to think, well, it went really badly yesterday. I'm rubbish at this. Likewise, we just talked about playing racket sports. I was playing alongside a mate today who hit 3 shots into the net and started swearing at himself. And I won't repeat what he said.
No.
So you can imagine what it was.
But the next shot he did, he went, I've got to stop hitting it in the net. Guess where his next shot went? Straight into the net, because he was constantly just talking himself into the fact that the shot's going to go into the net. When he broke that cycle and hit a really good return shot on the fourth time, he was like, oh, wow, yeah, I'm back, like this.
Yeah.
The next 4 or 5 shots he played were absolutely amazing because he changed his mindset there. And it's just how we react to something, I think, isn't it?
Do you find that sharing, if you're feeling anxious about something or feeling sad or down, do you think sharing it helps?
Yeah, without a doubt. Being honest is really key. So I'm trying to think of an example of something recently where, I mean, there's been times recently where I felt
The other day, you said to me, I could see he was a little bit quiet. And I just said, are you okay? And you just gave me a hug and said, I just feel really sad. And there was nothing behind it in terms of something had happened, but you were just feeling really, really sad.
Yeah.
So if we go back 4 years, maybe, when we were really in the depths of this really low mood and depression, he would never have been able to open up and say that to me. So yeah, definitely expressing the emotions that you're feeling will help you to be able to sort of work out, well, what should we do to make you feel a bit better? You know, do you want some chocolate?
Yeah, please. Although we're finishing now with chocolate. But on a serious note, now I think we might have talked about this in the last webinar. But I remember there would be a time where if Jules said, "Are you okay?" I'd go, "Yeah, I'm fine." That doesn't help. And then there's maybe times where maybe somebody like Jules might go, "What's wrong with you today?" Well, I'm all right. So those two approaches never work.
No.
Because if Jules was to say to me, "What's wrong with you? You're really quiet today. You're in a mood or something," that's automatically put me into that corner where it's going to make my fatigue worse, make my emotions lower, and everything like that. Whereas Jules went, "Are you okay? You just seem a bit quiet. Are you okay?" And that was a soft approach where then I was able to not go to the answer of, "Yeah, I'm fine. What are you on about? What are you talking about? I'm not quiet." If I'd done that, then all that I'd done was Jules had gone, "Well, trying to be nice."
Yeah.
Whereas I was just able to react and say, "Yeah, do you know what? I'm just not feeling it at the moment." And I think both of us just lifted after that because I couldn't work out what was making me really sad and down, and nor could you. But then it didn't become an issue because it's like, well, hold on a second, what is the actual? If there was something that was causing that, then I would have felt comfortable at that precise moment to say, do you know what? My friend's just messaged me and said something or other and it's upset me or whatever. It's one of those things, isn't it? And you can have a conversation about it.
Acknowledging it is the word, isn't it? You put it out there, I feel sad, it's okay. But then it's not allowing it to become all consuming and overwhelming.
And it is again that mindset of saying, this is how I feel. What can we do to maybe brighten his mood a little bit or help him feel a little bit better? Because, and this is the other thing that, you know, you're the one that's having the difficulty with the emotions, but it affects absolutely everybody. You know, it affects the quality of life for you, but it also affects the quality of life for me, for friends, for family. So trying to work ways around to help lift that mood a little bit sometimes. Okay, it's not always going to work, it's not always going to happen, and sometimes you're just in that moment and you can't shake it for whatever reason. But being honest about it, I think, helps, so that I'm not sitting there thinking, well, have I done something wrong? Is it me? What did I say? And you're sitting there thinking, well, I can't tell her because she's going to shout at me or something, you know. So it is really, really difficult to manage those emotions. But I do think if you can try and keep that mindset in a good place as well, it will help.
Yeah.
I like the phrase that you've used, you are not your emotions, you're experiencing them, but they're not you. I think that's really, really important, because you could just say, I'm a sad person, I'm an anxious person, I'm a depressed person. Actually, I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling this. Yes, you're acknowledging it, but it is not defining you.
It's not owning you, is it?
No, it's not. I'm very it's something that I promote quite a lot, that, you know, you are not your emotions. And quite often people that are feeling maybe low or not too happy, they don't feel that your life has meaning or purpose, and it's so not the truth. That you're just going through that period, and it will pass.
Yeah.
And do you find there's a tendency to, when you're feeling, a bit low, or you've experienced an overwhelming emotion, to say, I'm not like other people, I'm different. Jules doesn't experience what I'm experiencing. Sally doesn't experience what.
Yeah.
Do you ever find yourself doing that, or?
Yeah, this is something that I've really become aware of since brain injury, is also noticing what other people say that have any type of neurodiverse challenge.
Yeah.
So I remember going back to the days when we were going into schools pre-brain injury and working with teenagers. And I remember being in a class once, and this lad was sitting in the front row, and he just kept shouting stuff out randomly. And being honest, it was really annoying, because you're in a room full of 200 students, and there's one guy shouting stuff out all the time and just interrupting. And I remember him saying, "Oh, don't worry about me, it's my ADHD." And at the time, I didn't understand what ADHD was. So I just thought, that just sounds like a big excuse to me. Now, obviously, I'm talking about a 15-year-old lad who is going through a lot of emotional changes in a school which is probably not suiting him. But as I've got to understand brain injury, I've got to understand things like ADHD, ADD, and all sorts of challenges, autism, whatever. And I notice that sometimes people with diagnosis, especially adults who get diagnosed later in life with certain conditions, or we acquire a brain injury, we all of a sudden put ourselves into a box.
Yeah.
I have a friend who was diagnosed with autism quite recently, and said, it's really affecting me because I don't know how to deal with it now. I always thought I was on the spectrum somewhere, but now I know I've got to start taking medication to deal with it. And it's really weird, because for 40 odd years of their life, they thought they were autistic, but have just suddenly found out they are, and they're having to now deal with it differently.
But they've redefined themselves by it.
Yeah. They've almost put themselves into a box of like, well, this is going to happen to me. And I did that with brain injury. When I first started finding out about things, like you will suffer from fatigue, then I'm just waiting for fatigue to hit me. You will suffer from memory loss. I'm waiting to forget things. And then
you didn't have to wait.
No, but this is the thing. You use it as an example, as an excuse. It's like, well, I've forgotten that because of my brain injury. And it just becomes really hard, because then it starts owning you, and you're almost waiting for these things to happen. Whereas if you change the mindset to it, instead of saying, right, okay, well, I know I'm going to forget half the things you tell me. It's like, right, how can I remember them?
Yeah.
I know I'm going to get fatigued if I do this. So how can I manage my fatigue?
Yeah.
And it's that simple language change. When somebody says, I can't do something, so I can't do maths, I can't draw, I can't play music, I can't sing. If you really want to do those things, just change your language. How can I learn to do maths? How can I learn to draw? How can I learn to sing? What could I do? Who could teach me? And then all of a sudden, you're telling your brain to look for new ideas. So I can't do maths. How could I do that? What could the answer be?
Yeah, absolutely.
And when you say to somebody, you ask somebody a question, then they go, I don't know. So like if I ask you a question, say, what is your favourite song, for instance, and you go, oh, I don't know. Then that's the conversation over. But if I said to you, what's your favourite song? And you went, oh, let me think, what's my favourite song? You notice a change in language there. What's your brain thinking about? What's my favourite song? You just asked and repeated the question back to yourself. You've noticed how the mindset changes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's as simple as that.
And you've reinforced it positively.
Yeah. Now you might say, let me think about that for a moment. I'll come back to you. Because now your brain's now thinking, it's got thinking time.
Yeah.
It's amazing how it works, isn't it?
Yeah.
Then you've got to think, obviously.
Yeah.
What's your favourite song? What's your favourite song?
Now, again, we do appreciate this sounds very, very simple, and we know that it isn't. And it takes practice and it takes time. But I think, using Mark as an example to show that, your brain can still learn things, and it can still do new things or relearn things. And I think that is an amazing thing, and something that we'd want to share, and just say to anybody out there that, change that language maybe a little bit, that mindset, and give it a go, because you're all amazing. You're all on your individual journeys, and who knows what you might achieve, you know?
Yeah, that's a really good point. So I'm just mindful of time here today, and we appreciate we've been talking a lot. We haven't asked these guys to share anything today or anything, so it's been very quiet. So we're going to let you all go and enjoy your evening. Just to direct you to brainOrShine.com, which is our website. So if you go to brainOrShine.com, there's a link in there to book on the next webinar for next month. We'll also have our podcasts that mirror this. In the next few days, there'll be a recorded copy of this webinar that you can watch back if you want to. We also have a blog and a newsletter. Now, you're probably sitting there thinking, brain injury, overstimulation. They all pretty much cover the content. So just find whichever one works best for you and engage in that side of things. Most importantly, and most personally, we have our Facebook and peer-to-peer support group, which you can go on there and just chat away and connect with other people within the Brain or Shine community. Please do join that if you haven't already. And on there, you can also engage with us through social media. And if there's anything you'd like us to cover in the future, then just please do get in touch. So, yeah, we thank you all for joining us again for this latest episode. Thank you to Sally for flying all this way to see us. Thank you, Claire, for a little clap there.
Thank you. Oh, no more again.
I can hear the applause.
That's wonderful.
That's fantastic. And there's a few people that are hinting on here waving as well, so we won't say their names.
Yes. But yeah. Thank you all.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, we will catch up soon.
And we look forward to next time.
Yay. Have a wonderful evening and take care and see you soon. Bye for now.